Welcome to the Miami Heat Zone podcast. We're pushing to 6,000 subscribers. Make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, and thank you for all the support. Today we have Amir from Team to Beat Miami Heat. Make sure that you guys go to his channel, hit that subscribe button, and thank you for all the support. So tonight, the Miami Heat will be playing the Toronto Raptors. First of all, they have to win this game, Amir. There's no excuse. They have like 17 wins on the season. These are the games that they need to win. Now, of course, there's two sides of this whole Miami Heat team. There's some people that want them to tank for the 2 first-round picks, but then obviously we want to watch good basketball, and I can understand from both perspectives. Now, Erik Spoelstra, he said a huge word. I promise that we're going to fix this. I promise that we're going to correct this. So what are some of the things that you think that Erik Spoelstra needs to work on that we've seen over these past few games?
I think he needs to focus on more of an offensive-oriented lineup because defense is always going to be our strong suit because we don't have a Giannis, a Kevin Durant, a Jimmy Butler, number 1A superstar all-star who can get us to the free throw line, who could slow the game, and who can get a bucket. And Jimmy even wasn't that in the sense where he can get a bucket anytime like a Kevin Durant, a Steph Curry, but he has a high IQ. He was able to slow the game down for us. And we don't have that right now. Tyler Herro is our best offensive player. He's getting double-teamed, blitzed, and yes, his efficiency and consistency has been a little bit down the final week before the All-Star break. We went on a 4-game losing streak, but his final game, he had 40 points, and we still lost that game. So it's not all on him. There's going to be nights where it's tough on him because he's our only ball handler, really, because Terry Rozier has been atrocious this season, and he missed the last few games. So it's not just on Terry because we still got our ass beat and lost games that we should have won. So I think Spo needs to figure out the offense. We're number 9 in terms of defensive rating. Last year we were number 5, so we're still a top 10 defense. And we added more defensive-minded guys through the Jimmy trade with Davion and Wiggins. But offensively, we're 24th in scoring still. We're 22nd in offensive rating. So it's offense. Like, we struggle scoring. So I think Spo needs to come up with better schemes, and he needs to figure out ways to activate Tyler Herro, get him a little more off ball, but who's going to have the ball in their hands? Andrew Wiggins isn't the best ball handler. Davion Mitchell isn't the best true point guard playmaker. But what I think he could do is change the starting lineup and tinker a little bit, which he always does. I think he needs to put Duncan back in the starting lineup perhaps and see what a lineup of Herro, Duncan, Wiggins, Bam, and Kalel can do. Because with Wiggins now on the floor, he is a good defender. Same with Kalel Ware and Bam. You have 3+ defenders who can protect the white splash bros, if you will. But I think, Davion's good, but again, he doesn't space the floor. We need floor spacing for Wiggins to get downhill, for Bam to get downhill, for Tyler to get downhill. So I think Spo needs to figure out just offensive schemes and strategies and lineups that can help activate and help us score. Because again, our offensive ability is pretty bad compared to our defense. So what do you think are some adjustments Spo needs to make? Maybe either starting lineup, rotations, like who does he cut out of the lineup too as well to optimize our offense?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to see, Wiggins, Bam, Ware, Duncan, and Tyler. I think that's the starting lineup that we need to really lean into because it's like what you said. We have a huge offensive problem. We can barely crack 90 points. So there's no excuse for Duncan Robinson and Tyler Herro not to be playing together, especially with the floor spacing and the three-point shooting. My biggest thing is I do not want to see Terry Rozier and I don't want to see Jaime Jaquez Jr. if they're stinking up the place. So what I mean by that is he needs to make the in-game adjustments a lot quicker than he really is.
Yes.
I just think that, you can't have Terry Rozier and Jaime playing 30 minutes, 25 minutes, 20 minutes. And you can obviously see we at home, we're sitting on the couch and we can see that it's not going well. We've had plenty of games to see Jaime and Jovic to see, okay, are they going to, flip the switch? And who knows? Tonight, they can flip the switch for the rest of the season. All I'm saying is that we need to have a tighter leash because we obviously know the Miami Heat, they're not going to tank. They're not going to tank. They're not going to go out there and actually purposely lose games. But I just don't think this Miami Heat team is necessarily good enough to win a championship, which leads me into my next conversation because Tyler Herro, he said it himself. There's a bunch of people that are on Twitter. Oh, why would the Miami Heat tank? Did you hear what Tyler Hero said? We are not a championship team. And to be honest, there's nothing wrong with that. We've been contenders for the past, 5 years? We've had highs, lows, two NBA finals, three Eastern Conference finals. It's okay to take a step back. And that's what Miami Heat fans don't realize. Sometimes you have to take that step back. You know what I'm saying? To really see, okay, what's ahead of us. And we really got to see, what can work on this team. Is Jovic, Jaime, Ware, Bam, Tyler? Who's really the future of this team?
Yeah, but like we're tanking in the sense where we traded Jimmy Butler, and by doing that, trading our best player, our hopes of just get us into the playoffs, and no one wants to see us. That mantra is gone. Everybody wants to see the Miami Heat when you're playing Khalil Ware as your starting center as a rookie. Your top sixth man is 21-year-old Niko Jovic, who's great as a role player, but he's inconsistent because he's 21 and still a role player. You have other young pieces like Hawkes who's struggling, but in our rotation, and other teams want to see these guys who are young and inexperienced and are inconsistent. But also, again, we don't have to officially tank because we are a young team and we're a struggling team. So a way this Miami Heat could tank, which they don't do, and I don't want them to do because that's a loser mentality. And we're not bad enough to tank unless Tyler or Bam is hurt. Like, think about it. Yes, Bam is having a bad year in comparison to his last couple seasons, but the last week or so, he's been averaging 23 points, 11 rebounds, almost 5 assists, 1 block, shooting 40% from three in his last 12 games. He's made a three in 7 consistent games. Bam is stepping up. He's doing the opposite of what he typically does, which is play well, and then after All-Star break, he plays bad. He played bad and then started getting better towards All-Star break. Hopefully he can continue that. But when you have two guys, Bam is still an All-Star. He's still a top 25 guy. He might not have been designated an All-Star this season, but when you have two All-Stars in Herro and Bam, how can you tank? You're still going to end in the East. You're always going to be within that 7 to 10 range, which is the play-in, right? You're never going to get past the Hornets, the Wizards, the Raptors, the Hawks, like those types of teams who are young, who are crappy, who don't have like the star potential. Most of those teams have one guy, Trae Young. They have LaMelo Ball, right? Like the Wizards have nobody. They have Poole, right? So it's like we can't out tank those teams. But what we can do, if you want to do a soft tank, is do what you said. If Terry Rozier is sucking, if Jaime Hawkes is sucking, two of the guys who are better guys in our rotation, who are getting 30 minutes, 20 minutes, if they're sucking, guess what you do? Well, one, you can continue to play them, then we lose. But otherwise, if you want to develop and grow, give Pelle Larson more time. Let him learn. Like, yes, he's fouling a bunch of people and his shooting is inconsistent, but that's a way of soft tanking is playing him. Play Josh Christopher. See what Kashaw Johnson can do. He hasn't played a game in Miami in how long? A month or so, right? Like he's been in Sioux Falls, he's been in the G League team. If you want to tank in that sense because your other players are already doing bad, then do it a little bit further by giving Isaiah Stevens some run off the bench, right? Get those two-way players involved. Play Pella, play Jovic 35 minutes a game, right? I think that's the way of us kind of tanking without actually tanking because it's going to be hard for us to win if those guys are in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is, which I understand, why would you want your team to tank? Obviously, you want your team to make the playoffs and play good hoops. It's just like, why on earth do we have to play the Boston Celtics again round one and get smacked? I
Yeah.
do agree the East is very weak compared to how it used to be outside of the Boston Celtics. And I guess the Cleveland Cavaliers, I really don't fear any other team. I mean, I just think, what do you really think about Wiggins going forward? Because I mean, he's shown aggression, but he's almost like that Jimmy Butler, where he can be aggressive, but then at the same time, it's like he's kind of passive. Like, so how do you think the impact of Wiggins is going to be going forward? Because obviously, we're not going to expect him to be Jimmy Butler, but obviously, at the same time, we're going to expect him to at least put up decent numbers, 18, 20 points, 25 points a game and really help lead this team with Tyler and Bam.
I don't think he'll put up 25 a game. I think, well, I mean, he's capable of doing it from time to time, but because I think, again, Tyler is going to be the focal point and Bam is still our captain and his offense has been a lot better, obviously. Like he's shooting closer to 47, 48%. He's never shot below 50% in his career from the field. And this is the first season. At the beginning of the season, Bam was shooting 42%, which is that's egregious. Like going from 52 your worst to 42. Now it's back up to 47. So I don't think Wiggins is going to be that second option ever. I still think Bam might have more of he's going to have the ball in his hands more than Wiggins, I think, but we need to unlock Wiggins and not just throw the ball to him at the end of the shot clock, which a lot of his shots have been coming when we can't like get a bucket essentially. Like we need to run some plays through him and he just needs more time. He's played 2 games with the Miami Heat literally, like, and he's averaging 12 points per game, which is not great, but he has 29 games to build chemistry, learn the plays, learn the systems, learn the tendencies from his players, like from his new teammates. And so it's a different system. He was playing with Steph Curry, like going from playing with Steph Curry, like he had to fit in. He had to play off ball and play off Steph and Clay and Draymond's movement. Here, he can be a little more on ball, I think, and we need to give him the ball. We need him to probably be more aggressive than Bam, honestly, right? Because I think offensively, he's more capable than Bam. I think. Do you think like as a 3-level scorer, I think like he might I want him to average like 17, 18 points per game, and I want to take away from Tyler, but we need to unlock him offensively, and I think we need to get him more on ball somehow. But he's not the best handler. That's the only problem. Like he's not consistent enough. He's 29 years old. He's a finished product. So I don't know. What do you think he could do better, or what do you think that he can do to unlock him?
We just need him to play as good as he did in Golden State. If he can just give you 80% of that, 75% of that, which that's a whole nother question. Do you think that Andrew Wiggins is a piece that you keep for the future?
I mean,
Or do you flip him?
I guess it depends on the last 20. Like he's auditioning for these 29 games because how many years does he have left after this season? Is it just next year, and then he becomes expired, or does he have 2 more after this season?
That's a good question. I think it's 2 actually.
I mean, you use him and dangle him as a trade chip because there's no one else on the like. If you want to get a Kevin Durant, if you want to get a Giannis type player, a John Morant type player, then he's part of that package. Him, Terry Rozier, or him and Duncan. I say Duncan and Terry because Duncan is making 19 million next season. 10 is only guaranteed, but he's an expiring. Terry is an expiring. So those are and then I think Wiggins is making like 30 or something next season. So a combination of those 3 need to be packaged if a superstar whale becomes available. And we know that superstar is going to say Miami, but then of course we're never going to be able to get him. But yeah, you have to consider trading him for a whale, I think, because the money. And also we have 3 first-round picks that are going to be, I mean, it depends again if we make the playoffs or not. We might have 4 tradable picks because we might get 2 now. We'll have 1 in 2028, and then I think we have 1 like in 2030 that we can trade after this season. So with that, that's a lot of ammo. Like think about that: 4 picks, Jaime, Jovic. Obviously, I'm going to say Khalil Ware, even though people think he's untouchable. But it depends on who it is for, right? If it's for Giannis, he's not untouchable in my opinion. If it's for Ant, he's not untouchable. If it's for Jaw, if it's for KD, probably not, right? I can agree with that. Maybe not for those guys, but there's certain guys that everybody on the team is tradable. You trade Coach Spo. I said in my video when I made for Giannis saying that the Heat and Knicks are 2 teams that he would be interested in. So you see what Wiggins can do for the next 29 games, and I don't see him getting traded anytime soon. Maybe when he becomes an expiring, it's more likely that we get rid of him. But he's still 29, and he's someone who can help this team stay mediocre. Because that's what we are. We're just a mediocre team at this point.
Listen, man, it is what it is. Every single franchise has ups and downs, winning and losing. And right now, we are a young, rebuilding team. The biggest thing right now for the Miami Heat, they need to remain flexible, gather as many assets as possible so that when the time is right, they can pivot into that winning direction. But guys, make sure that you guys go to Amir's channel, hit that subscribe button. He's pushing the 3,000 subscribers. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the Miami Heat Zone. And thank you guys for all the support.